A rivalry that dates all the way back to the year 1919. The University of Toledo Rockets and the Bowling Green State University Falcons have battled one another for nearly a century. These two Mid-American Conference schools are separated by only about 20 miles, and it's a straight shot on I-75 to travel from one campus to another. The University of Toledo is located in Toledo, Ohio, and has approximately 23,000 undergrads. Meanwhile, Bowling Green State University, located in Bowling Green, Ohio, has approximately 20,000 undergrads. The football rivalry between these two schools is a storied one, but these two schools compete for much more than what happens on the gridiron.
Because the schools are so close, they compete as far as recruiting, they compete as far as advertising, as far as the money, who's paying for these schools and their programs. You know, a lot of the same shared advertiser dollars go to both schools. So I think that's even, from a non-athletic standpoint, just from the monetary standpoint, puts even more emphasis on that game. Who can win it every year? Because you're not only playing for the pride of the school, not only playing for the recruits, but you're also playing for the money.
Something you might not know about the rivalry between these two schools is that on the campus of the University of Toledo, there is a rocket located right next to the Glass Bowl. The rocket was given to the University of Toledo by the U.S. Army Missile Program in 1961. This rocket is aimed in the direction of Bowling Green State University, and many believe that if launched, the rocket will land at the 50-yard line of Dwight L. Perry Stadium. The Peace Pipe is a trophy awarded annually to the winner of the game between the University of Toledo and Bowling Green State University. The trophy is a miniature replica of an American Indian peace pipe sitting atop a trophy with both teams' logos. The game is sometimes referred to as the Battle of I-75, as the cities of Toledo and Bowling Green are both located on Interstate 75, just 20 miles apart. In 1935, fans rioted following a 63-0 blowout win by the Rockets, and as a result, BGSU and UT did not resume the rivalry until 1948. Although Toledo did not field a football team during World War II from 1943 to 1945. In 1948, the smoking of a 6-foot peace pipe was instated as a gesture of goodwill between the two teams at halftime of their annual basketball match. The peace pipe would be kept by the winning university until the teams played again the following season. In 1980, the peace pipe trophy was reinstated when a scaled-down replica was fashioned and placed on top of a trophy created by former UT football player Frank Kralik. Kralik donated the trophy to the university to be given to the winner of each year's football game, which, like many other college football rivalries, is usually the last game of the regular season for both teams.
Well, it's always been the Battle of I-75. The peace pipe was kind of thrown in there after they actually had to suspend the rivalry due to a riot that ensued after Toledo whooped up on Bowling Green. So they brought out the peace pipe as kind of like a measure as, okay, we're going to calm things down and get back to the rivalry of football and nothing else crazy that goes on. But the Battle of I-75 trophy is a great idea, and the peace pipe, I think, is kind of been retired as a symbol of kind of the old days and starting a new era between these two schools, between the Falcons and the Rockets. And it's a really nice trophy. It looks real great, and I expect it to really be used throughout the next coming decade and hopefully more, just as these two teams can meet and have a friendly but intense rivalry.
This is the Michigan-Ohio State of mid-major football. That's what it boils down to. You don't have two schools that are in such close proximity to play in the same conference, I should say, anywhere in the country. So I think that's what really makes this rivalry so much more special than a lot of the other ones.
Well, game day is obviously a big day because it's the Battle of I-75. It's the rivalry. Toledo is our rival, and it's always a big game that you get really pumped for as a fan, as a student. And obviously, like you said, I've had 3 opportunities to come here and watch, but it goes even further back. There's been several times when me and my dad come up with some friends. This is the game you choose, the game against Toledo, because it's the rivalry, and it's always a big game for both teams on both sides. And back then it was when we were the same division, the West Division, so it was always the last game of the season. So if you had implications of getting to that MAC title game, you know, the road went right through there, through the Battle of I-75, and the winner of that usually was the team that could represent the West and take on, back in that time, was Marshall, to vie for the MAC championship.
Over time, in any sport, there comes change. Sometimes these changes are good, sometimes these changes are bad. We already talked about how we went from the Peace Pipe Trophy to the Battle of I-75 Trophy this year. Well, there was one other change that took place this year, and that change was when the game took place.
Well, obviously, it really helps out with having it earlier in the season. You get more fans. It's warmer weather. You know, this year was very, very nice. A little chilly in the morning, but got up to a good degree. And you know, especially with Alumni Day coming back, all the homecoming, all the alumnus coming back for homecoming, and you know, it just is the game that they always, you know, wanted to go to back in their time when they're here. So it really works out that way. Personally, I like it being the last game of the season, but the way the schedule falls, that really happens to be over Thanksgiving break, and we can't be here. They have us leave for Thanksgiving break, so there's a lot of students that can't come to that game specifically because they go home for Thanksgiving. But you know, it's for what it is right now and how that just happens to be the homecoming weekend. It seems to be the best available time now for Toledo to come play Bowling Green.
Because honestly, who's watching the game the day after Thanksgiving? That's just an honest statement. If I'm not calling it, I'm not watching it. You know, I'm at home, I'm spending time with the family, or I'm traveling, you know, other things are going on. So I think them moving it up, putting it on homecoming day, best thing they could have done. Now you saw what kind of game that Bowling Green gave Toledo too. Toledo, a very high-powered offense, scored 60 points on 2 occasions. And the final score there was what, 28-21, 28-14, something. I mean, it was a 4-score game total for Toledo's offense. Bowling Green came to play that day, and we're talking, you know, ESPN audience. It was a big game. That was a very big game. And I think it was a great move by the university to move it up in the schedule, take it away from the holiday. That way you can get more fan output and, you know, involvement in the game. I think from the player standpoint, at Bowling Green, I know they used to have shirts that said "Beat Toledo." That's all it said. It said "Beat Toledo" right across the front. That's kind of a statement right there. I mean, when you're wearing that in August, and you know that game isn't until, you know, the day after Thanksgiving, which this year they moved it up, which I thought was a great move, by the way, as far as, you know, fan output. But as a player, that game's circled on the calendar. I mean, it's, you know, win your division, beat the rival, and then go ahead and try to get into the conference championship game and win that. Those are your 3 goals. And BG trying to beat Toledo, Toledo trying to beat BG. That was pretty much kicking your neighbor in the teeth is what it's doing. I mean, because you are so close. You know, we see a lot of the same people on the weekends as far as nightlife is concerned. You'll see UT people down in BG. You'll see BG people up at UT. And I think that just that extra bragging right helps you, you know, pop your chest out a little bit, pick your chin up a little higher, and like, yeah, we got you this year. We'll look forward to it next year.
For the future of these two teams, I think things can continue to stay intense, continue to be a good rivalry, and obviously with the potential, I think it's for sure now, University of Massachusetts is going to be entering the MAC in the 2013 season, I think. So that's going to kind of shift things around in the MAC, and we could see Bowling Green go back to the West Division and then play Toledo every single year in which you're in the same division. So that's going to really intensify things just in specifics that, you know, if they switch that game to the last game of the season, that game's going to be coming down the wire. I can see both teams, you know, that's a win-or-go-home situation to get you to Detroit. So I think that the rivalry has always been great. It's been great throughout the years when both teams in the West. It's been maintained throughout the years that Bowling Green switched to the East. You know, they always play each other despite being in different divisions. And I think that if things do actually switch where Bowling Green goes back to the West, it's just going to continue to, you know, it's always been intense, but it's going to continue to be that game that you got to make sure you win. And I think it's going to be one of those things where if BG looks at that game, they're going to circle and say, to get to Detroit, we got to go through Toledo, and Toledo's going to do, you know, the same thing. To get to Detroit, we got to go through Bowling Green, and it's always great when two rivals go at it, and it's even better when two rivals go at it with so much on the line, and that's really happened throughout the years, and that's why this has been a big game, and that's why this rivalry has always been that great.
There has already been so much history made between these two rivals, the University of Toledo Rockets and the Bowling Green State University Falcons. One thing is for certain, though, and that is that the future is very bright for both of these teams.
A lot of my credit has to go to Dr. Lori Liggett. She does a fine job with all of her classes. How you doing, Dr. Liggett? I just throw that out.